you might need to move your music stand.
Dad, Dad, look. You hold this side. Okay. You know what? Dad, you hold this side, and I can be here. Wait. No. Wait.
We'd like to welcome everyone this afternoon. And I first want to start by thanking Julie, who's Lee and Bert's daughter-in-law, for playing the cello, and also Jeff Prince for playing the guitar. And they'll be playing some more during our celebration of life today. And it is with sadness in our hearts that we come together this afternoon to have this memorial service and celebration of life for Bert Lichter. We gather as family and friends and community, and we gather as God's people, conscious of others who have died and the frailty of our own existence on earth. And most importantly, we come to comfort and support one another in our common loss and to celebrate a very beautiful life. And as we start, we'll have the family come up. We're going to do the Kriya ribbons and light the candle. You're getting your steps in for this morning. We have a nice custom when you read the stories in the Bible, when someone would die, people would rip their garment to show life has been torn. Some people rip their garments today. And we also have the ribbons. We call it a Kriya ribbon. Kriya means to tear. Just like our American culture is to wear black. You don't have to, but it looks somber and serious. See? 4 out of 5 are wearing black. Mindy has a black ribbon. She's joyous. She's celebrating her dad's life. And it seems odd to say a prayer when someone dies. What prayer should we say? But we have a prayer for that too. And we have many of our own prayers from our hearts. But we have a traditional prayer that we say when there's something sad. And the last 2 words in Hebrew are Dayan Ha'emet. So we're going to say it together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam Dayan Ha'emet. See, wasn't that hard? And what the words mean, here's my fancy translation. Blessed are you, wise one, our God, sovereign of all worlds, source of truth and finitude. In other words, it's a prayer of acceptance. We do our best to accept things even when they're hard and to still find a way to come to terms with it. So I'll tear the ribbon a little bit. And I thought it would be nice to do it in this order. First, to tear the ribbon to show that life has been torn. We also have a custom of lighting a candle to show that the spirit lives on. And I like, in English it's not really English, it's Yiddish, but we call it the Yortzeit candle. Yortzeit is remembering the day of passing. But in Hebrew, it's nice. It says Ner Neshama. Ner Neshama, the candle of the soul. And we light a candle to show that the spirit lives on. The body finishes its term as long as it can on this earth, but the spirit remains with us and lives on. So who's got steadier hands than I did this morning? Sure. Before they leave, I thought I would just read this passage. In the book of Proverbs, we have the words, Ner Adonai Nishmat Adam. The light of the Lord is the spirit or the soul of a person. As a light burns pure and bright, so may the memory of Bert, your husband and dad, brighten and purify our lives. Amen. Now you can sit relaxed for a few minutes. So you have to come back up. And as we start, I have the words of just a personal prayer that I like to share, which I think puts some some words to all of the emotions. We're good at very scripted prayers in the Jewish tradition, but sometimes it's hard to know the prayer from our heart. So this is a prayer I put together. Oh God, in this hour of grief, we lift our hearts to you for comfort and hope. Give us strength to carry on in the days ahead. And Bert, although it is your destiny to return, it is ours to remain and remember. It is for you to embrace the all. It is for us to struggle with the parts. It is for you to be and for us to become. You will not be forgotten. You will always be loved. And now it is time for you to move on. Go in peace, and may your soul be bound up in the bond of everlasting life. And we say together, Amen. And the custom is to read some of the passages from Psalms, beautiful words meant to offer comfort and consolation. So I'll read this one from Psalm 121. I didn't include all of them on the handout, but you'll get the highlights. So we'll do the 23rd one next, which you'll all recognize. I will lift mine eyes to the mountains. What is the source of my help? My help comes from Adonai, maker of heaven and earth. God will not let your foot give way. Your protector will not slumber. See, the protector of Israel neither slumbers nor sleeps. God is your guardian. God is your protection at your right hand. The sun will not strike you by day, nor the moon by night. God will guard you from all harm. God will guard your soul. You're going and coming now and forever. And probably the most famous of all of the Psalms, the most well-known, is the 23rd Psalm. So let's join together. It's on the handout, the top left side. Psalm 23. There's one on your seat behind you guys. Right behind you. There's one on the seat in the front. You're sitting on it. There it is. Oh, there's two. No, just one. Okay, let's join together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He maketh me to lie down in green pastures. He leadeth me beside the still waters. He restoreth my soul. He guideth me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil. My cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. The next one I call a little bit of a psalm mashup. It's a couple of different verses put together. I'll chant a little bit in Hebrew, then I'll read the English. And I like to include these words because it has the words, teach us to number our days, to use them wisely. And as we think about Bert and his life and how he lived it and what he leaves behind as his legacy, that's something to think about. Teach us to number our days, to use them wisely, and how we want to live our lives as well. Adonai ma'adam v'teda'ehu ben enosh v'techashvehu. Adam lahevel dama, yamav ketzel over, ba'boker yatzitz v'chalaf, la'erev yamolel v'yavesh. Limnot yamenu kein hoda, v'navi levav chochma. Shmartam urei yashar, ki acharit le'ish shalom. Lord, what are we that you have regard for us? And what are we that you take account of us? We're like a breath. Our days are as a fleeting shadow. In the morning we flourish and grow up like grass. In the evening we are cut down and wither. So teach us to number our days, to use them wisely, that we may acquire a heart of wisdom. May our days of sorrow, the times we have suffered, be matched with days of joy. May we come to recognize some lasting purpose in our lives and indeed accomplish something worthy of remembrance. I'll share this little passage. I'm going like this because somebody handed this to me once years ago, and I like the sentiment, so I'll share this with you. And since we're here, we live in SoCal, And we're by the beach, so I like this image. The tide recedes, but leaves behind bright seashells on the sand. The sun goes down, but gentle warmth still lingers on the land. The music stops, and yet it echoes on in sweet refrains. For every joy that passes, something beautiful remains. And one other reading which I'd like to share. I share it because I think it's helpful. These words were written over 2,000 years ago by a Jewish wisdom teacher named Joshua ben Sirach. And if you like it, let me know. And if you don't like it, let me know too. But I think it's helpful. Fear not death. We are all destined to die. We share it with all who ever lived, with all who ever will be. Bewail the dead. Hide not your grief. Do not restrain your mourning, but remember that continuing sorrow is worse than death. When the dead are at rest, let their memory rest and be consoled when the soul departs. Seek not to understand what is too difficult for you. Search not for what is hidden from you. Be not overoccupied with what is beyond you, for you have been shown more than you can understand. As a drop of water in the sea, as a grain of sand on the shore, are a person's few days in eternity. The good things in life last for limited days, but a good name endures forever. O God, you redeem our souls from the grave, and you are the rock of our salvation. Forsake us not in time of trouble, in days of distress and desolation. Help us to endure, O Lord, for we place our hope in you. And we'll share some stories and some memories. I'll just say a few words as an introduction. And I like to start with this opening. It's from a longer poem, but I like this short part as an introduction. Birth is a beginning, and death a destination, but life is a journey, a sacred pilgrimage, a going, a growing from stage to stage, from birth to death to life everlasting. And as I said, there's some wonderful tributes and special stories and memories that family and friends will share. So I just want to say a few words. We've known each other for over 50 years, and my joke is we all still look the same. Everybody liked that joke, by the way. And Larry and Mindy and I grew up together in middle school and high school, and we were also close friends with Beverly and Michelle Rosen, and that's how I met you. And their father and Bert's very close friend Stan will also speak in a few moments. And I also remember Michael and Tracy from those very sweet days. So here are some things that stand out for me about Bert and Lee and the family. You are always proud to be Jewish and cared about helping others and being a presence in the community. In the early days, I wanted to say BS before store, but I changed it. BB, before owning your own business, Bert served actually as president of Temple Adat Elohim here in Thousand Oaks. And there are many memories of his work, which was the main portion of his life and which will be shared. And not only did Bert and Lee work together for so many years, which is admirable in and of itself, but I keep saying more recently, you know, everybody grew up and was doing their own thing. I'm still here in Thousand Oaks, and I used to see you both going to the gym all the time, holding hands. It was the Gold's Gym at the Jan's Marketplace. And I saw you all the time, holding hands and walking together, and both looking happy, looking content and happy, and just having a nice time. I know you were schlepping him along to go to the gym, but it was nice. And what I also remember is that you were both always upbeat, kind, and positive, which I'll say is reflected in your family. In each of the, we're all still kids, so in each of the kids. And as they each shared, they all worked in the store at various times when they were in high school. And you, as a family, were and are truly a real team. And it was nice to be able to have that time to share together last week and to see everybody being so loving and kind and helpful and for real. And Bert was loyal and devoted to the family. And as you've each been to him these past few difficult years. He will be greatly missed, but always remembered. And I know you each did everything you could to help him and take care of him, which was your gift to him for all that he did for you. You gave him love and care and courage and respect. And so I say to your wonderful husband and father, father-in-law, and dear friend, may he be remembered for his kind heart and strong spirit. A person is valued for the legacy which they leave, the values that they teach, and the ethics they embody and espouse. And I know Bert was admired, respected, and loved, and he did his best. And I think the image of the two of you walking and holding hands shows how much he appreciated everything. He appreciated all that he had done and everything that he had. And when you think of Bert, think of his love of life, and also think of the Hebrew word l'chaim. I wore my chai today in honor of him. Chai means life, and we say l'chaim. Let's all clear our throats. We say l'chaim. It's not a big l'chaim, but really we celebrate his life. We honor him, who he was to you, what he added to your life, what he taught you about life, and most importantly, may his life always be for a blessing. Amen. And I have a couple things. The first one I'm going to read, and then we'll have Cousin Peggy is going to come up, and then there's a couple other things, and then some family and friends will share. So for this one, this was written by Lee. Take out your tissues. You're going to need them. It's beautiful. It's a beautiful, beautiful love letter. But it might be a little emotional. Okay. First she says, thank you all for gathering here today to say goodbye to the man I loved for 66 years. Bert and I first met on a blind date, and we didn't like each other. He was very quiet, and I filled in the silence by talking excessively. After that first wonderful date, he asked me out multiple times, and I turned him down. I eventually relented because I was impressed by his persistence. We continued dating because I liked the way he kissed. I loved the warmth of holding his hand, his gentleness and thoughtfulness. He was always a gentleman, good to me, and never took me for granted. Growing up, Bert was a kid of the streets. His mom and dad worked. He grew up poor in a one-bedroom apartment. He slept in a crib in the dining room until he was 7 years old, and I joked that's why he was so short. And his sister Elaine slept in the living room. He loved his sister. We're getting serenaded. The angels are serenading us. He loved his sister. They played together, always got along, never fought, and she was wonderful to him. They lost their father when Bert was age 16, and he never really got over that. Bert was smart. He worked hard and was accepted into a very prestigious pharmacy school at the University of Illinois in Chicago. After he graduated and attained his pharmacy license, we were married in my parents' backyard. We started our family with Michael and Lawrence in Chicago. He was a fantastic father. He would come home from work, and even before dinner, he would have both boys sitting on his knees, listening to their stories, answering all their questions, and had so much patience with them. We decided to try to move to California, but we had heard it was very difficult to pass the California pharmacy licensing test. After dinners, he'd go study, and I'd find him in the other room, flat on the floor with the book over his head, sound asleep. We would joke that he learned information by osmosis. When he went out to California to take the exam, it was his first time on a plane. It was a very difficult test. He came home very depressed, thinking he couldn't have possibly passed. Yet 3 months later, he received the surprising news. In 1964, we went to California to look for a place to live. While there, we visited his friend from pharmacy school, Stan Rosen, in Thousand Oaks. We were sold on Thousand Oaks, and we saw a man, it wasn't Stan, ride up on a horse, tie his horse up to a mailbox, and walk into the house. Years later, Bert was driving around and saw a new shopping center that was being built in Newbury Park. He had always dreamed of owning his own pharmacy, and with the help of my parents, Bert's pharmacy was established in 1975. For the first 3 years, he worked 365 days a year until he could afford to hire another pharmacist. The pharmacist that Bert worked with would tell me he was very smart, an exceptional pharmacist, and commented on how knowledgeable he was. He was a good employer, fair to his employees, and taught them customer service is most important. He was also very protective of his customers, sometimes not filling prescriptions when he knew it was dangerous to do so, even against significant pressure. He was protective of the community by carrying things like rattlesnake antivenom, which is so expensive that the hospitals didn't carry it. Though he lost money on it, he knew one day it would save someone's life. On holidays, he would give the store employees time to be off with their families, and our family would keep the store open. It was very important to him that a pharmacy be open for the community 365 days a year. He donated highly sought-after Beanie Babies so churches could raffle them off, providing funds to build a gymnasium and a classroom. What Bert cared about most were his family and the store, his business. He didn't really have time for the other stuff. Bert and I worked in the store together. He was locked up in the pharmacy, and I was managing the gift and cosmetic department, so we weren't always together. One of the girls at the store once said to me, "That man loves you so much." I asked her why she said that, and she replied, "His eyes follow you everywhere you go." The more popular the gift department became, the prouder of me he was. Bert's pharmacy had the best candy department. That was his baby. He made sure to stock old candies that adults loved and missed. He had a good sense of humor when he was working. He'd often dress up for Halloween. He wouldn't necessarily tell jokes, but he would play practical jokes. He was a little mischievous. We had some celebrities that frequented the store, so one time, Bert hopped on the pharmacy microphone and announced, "Tom Cruise, your prescription is ready," and everyone went crazy. In 1984, we moved to Westlake Village, to a home tract that surrounded a park. On days he was home, we'd go for walks around the park, holding hands, look up at the sky and the sunshine, and he'd say, "This is why we're here." You've heard the phrase, "I never promised you a rose garden," but he did give me a rose garden. Bert was my willing assistant, my hole digger and fertilizer man, helping me build beautiful gardens. Bert was always good to me, not with gifts, but with love. He was happy to make me happy. What I liked best about our marriage is that we were a team in thought. We understood each other, shared our feelings, and we helped each other through the dark moments. I felt totally loved by Bert and never questioned that fact. He gave me the feeling of well-being, safety, and great happiness. It felt like sleeping on a cloud. After our daughter Tracy was born, following a difficult delivery, the first thing I remember is being aware of him in the room, holding my hand. I was too weak to talk, and I don't remember him speaking either, but I felt his hand holding mine, and it said to me, "Here I am. I love you. I will always be with you." It really felt to me like we were linked and inseparable, and neither one of us had to say a word. All there was our two hands joined. It made me very happy and proud to have such a loving husband with whom I could share this complete closeness. Near the end, when he was really sick and didn't know what was going on, I'd lean over to kiss him, and he always kissed me back. When my hand was in his, he knew I would always be with him. Okay, now we're going to have Cousin Peggy come up, and she's going to read what Mindy wrote.
These are some words from Mindy. When I think of my dad, the words love, quiet strength, jovial, and kind come to mind. We all learn lessons from our parents. My brothers, sister, and I are lucky enough to have two great role models. I learned from my mother compassion and empathy, but from my father listening and support. He was steady, strong, didn't say very much, but when he did, you knew it was important and you listened. He was always there. No matter what I did, I knew that he loved me and supported me. I learned from him that when something knocks you down, take a minute and then get back up. To friends and employees, he was fair, non-judgmental, and found the good in everyone. He would say things like, nobody is good at everything, but everybody is good at something. And the customer is always right, even when they are wrong. He was always busy, but still took the time to talk to customers, guided them, and alleviated their concerns. Many times, even after working a 12-hour day, he would stay late in the locked store, waiting for a customer to pick up an important prescription for their family member. Although we kids did not have a lot of time with my dad doing fun stuff, we spent more time than most working with our dad. He taught us important lessons by example. I learned the lesson of hard work, literally starting from the bottom, scraping gum off of sidewalks, and working my way up. He taught us how to treat people with kindness, to work hard to attain our goals, to be leaders that people respected, to stand by our principles in the face of adversity, but also to see the other side of an argument and try to be understanding. I will remember not only the times I worked with him, but the times that we played. He would shoot baskets with me if it was light when he got home from work. He would get up extra early on Saturdays and take me to Two Winds Ranch so that I could spend the morning with the horses. We occasionally went on family day trips to the beach. I would watch him run into the waves and jump in under an approaching big wave. Not bad for a kid from Chicago. We would hike around Thousand Oaks, sometimes getting into precarious situations. We worked around the house together, building a beautiful home. We enjoyed time with family and friends, especially 4th of July in the park with the Rosens and Passover with the Ungerleiters. We would play cards and take trips to Vegas, his favorite destination. I am sure my love of cards and gambling was passed down from him. I remember one time we were all dressed up in long dresses and suits and ties to go to a dinner show at Caesar's Palace. We were early. The craps table was calling his name. He had to go, so we waited. And not long afterwards, he came back with a twinkle in his eye and a wad of cash in his hand. He went up to my mom and he placed the cash down the front of her dress into her bra and gave her a romantic kiss. He enjoyed winning it, knowing she would enjoy spending it. Love, quiet strength, jovial, and kind. That's my dad, and I will carry him with me always.
I have 3 short tributes to share, and then we'll have some friends and family members. This is from Cindy Chapman, a former employee from almost 50 years ago and still a continuing friend. Burton Lichter, you had a huge impact on my life. You taught me the best and most valuable lessons in how to be a good employee, handle cash, and take care of customers. Not only that, I consider you as family. I wish that all of my subsequent bosses had been just half the person Bert was. I would turn back the clock if I could. I still use the lessons Bert taught me to this day, especially about how to deal with people. He taught me the most valuable lessons I've ever learned. I still remember Lee and Bert at my wedding 43 years ago. I have many photos of them. Bert, we will always love you and keep you in our hearts. And this one is really nice. This is from Mayling Orta Tucker, Lawrence's sister-in-law, and it's from a text that she sent, and I thought it was so nice because of her. She gives us a little lesson. I think it's helpful, so I thought it was nice. I try to stay close to all of you through my prayers, asking God to give you strength and giving thanks for your father's life. I always saw your father as a devoted, kind, loving man, someone who cared deeply for his family and shared that love with everyone around him. His smile, his gentleness, and his joy will always remain in my heart. Bert transmitted that same love to all the people around him. When I look at his pictures, I always see him even younger with a luminous smile. Someone who looked joyful, gentle, a person who truly enjoyed the moments of life and valued the life that God gave him. I'm very close to all of you, honoring his life and grieving with you during this difficult time. Time does not heal everything, but it teaches us how to live differently and how to recognize our loved ones in the things we cherish every day. They were, they are, and they will always be part of who we are. And one last special tribute I think is really nice also. It's from his doctor, from his oncologist, from Dr. Chong. Dear Lichter family, please accept my deepest sympathy on the passing of Mr. Lichter. It has been a true privilege to care for him over these years and to witness his remarkable strength. Throughout his illness, Bert consistently displayed courage and dignity that were truly inspiring. Even in the most difficult times, he focused on those he loved, never losing his deep sense of purpose or care for others. His willingness to face each challenge with grace left a lasting impression on everyone involved in his care. There was a quiet resilience in Bert's presence, a sense of calm and acceptance that lifted those around him. He handled his illness in a way that spoke to his character, compassionate and deeply grounded in what mattered most. He found strength in the love and support of his family, and his actions each day reminded us all of the true meaning of living with bravery and purpose. Bert's memory will remain with me, and the example he set will continue to inspire. It is my hope that these words bring comfort as you remember the remarkable person he was and the profound impact he had on all who knew him. With heartfelt sympathy and warm regards, Fukai Chang. And I think that's a really beautiful tribute coming from the doctor. That's pretty nice, so very special. And so we have some speakers. We'll start with Stan Rosen, and he's going to be right in the front. Stand right here. And then after that will be John Wilcox, Wendy Averill, and Lawrence Lichter. And then we'll have the video montage. He can stand right here.
Another good friend is gone. I met Bert in 1959 at the U of I Pharmacy School. We worked very hard. It was not an easy school. I sometimes wonder how I made it. Later on, he moved in 1967 to Thousand Oaks. He later bought Bert's Pharmacy. I bought also a store called Stan's Drugs, and we used to talk many times how hard both stores were. I worked with my wife, which was not easy. My wife, Lynn, and I became very close friends to his wife and his children. I will miss him. His energy, neshama, soul is with us at all times. Thank you.
Lee, family, and friends. Some people come into our lives and quickly go. Some stay a while and leave a footprint on our hearts, and we are never, ever the same. Bert, what a guy, what a life. We are here today to celebrate his life, not his passing. He was a husband. He was a father to Lee and the family. He was also a partner with Lee, and what a pair. He was a pharmacist. He was a doctor. He was a healer. Whenever people would come into a store with a problem, he would fix it. Everyone who met Bert liked him and had great respect for the man. My relationship with Bert was always extremely friendly but businesslike. I knew him over 60 years and enjoyed all the good times at my house and on business trips with my company trade shows around the world. Bert and Lee were such a pleasure to be around, always being happy and accommodating in every way, especially to me and my family. I especially enjoyed our breakfast every Friday, discussing the issues of the world at the table of knowledge. We didn't always agree, but we would laugh and kid each other. But that's okay. I was extremely lucky to have met Bert and Lee. They have brought so much joy to me and my family. Our lives will never be the same without Bert. He left his footprint on all our hearts. Bert, we miss you. Bert, we love you. Bert, God bless you.
I'm not sure which microphone I'm supposed to use. This one? Okay. Okay, I'm fine. Hi, I'm Wendy Yarville, and I'm one of the few people, I think, here speaking about Lee and Bert after they came to the village at Northridge, which was just a marvelous place for them because there were so many people for them to love and enjoy. And when I first came in, I came there, they had an opening, had a luncheon for people who were all new. So Lee and Bert were there, and lucky us, we got to sit at the table with them. And it was remarkable because I leaned over to Mary Lee and said, wish we'd met these people 50 years ago. But I think 50 years ago we wouldn't have appreciated them nearly as much as we did now. We love all the qualities that the people who preceded me were talking about Bert and Lee because it was a combination with the two of them. And it was just remarkable. They had a relationship that all of us would look at and say, I wish the relationship I was in was like that one. And they cared about each other. I remember the first luncheon we had together, Lee was telling a story, and Bert started to interrupt her. And she said, Bert, you interrupted me. He said, oh, I'm so sorry. Now, men of his generation, born 89 years ago, would have said, shut up, I'm the husband, I can do whatever I want to do. But he didn't. He apologized. I thought, that's a good guy. That's a good guy. And so we realized that he was kind, caring, loving, funny as the dickens. And when I walk into the dining room each time, I look around, look all over, see where Lee and Bert were sitting. Lee often had her back to the door so she didn't see me. Bert would wave, and then I'd come over and hug him and give him a kiss because he was just one of those very, very special people. I think one of the things that I haven't heard from people, and this comes from me having 30 years ago, my principal that I absolutely adore died. And they asked me to speak at his service, so I did. And being a teacher, I said goodbye to my kids on Friday afternoon. I thought, I've got to go into the auditorium and kind of get myself mentally ready for this tomorrow, because there are going to be hundreds of people, school board people, everybody there. So I walked down into the auditorium, and here were hundreds of folded chairs. I mean, hundreds. I thought, oh my God, that's who I'm going to be talking to tomorrow, president of the PTA and everything like that, because Wally was very, very well known. So I went in. As I stood up there, I started thinking what I'm going to say, and all of a sudden, a voice called me. I looked around, looked left, looked right, and I looked right down there, and there's Wally. Now, you can say you believe it or not, but I remember it, and there he was. I said, what are you doing here? He said, I'm here to be with you. You betcha. And then when he actually when the service came the next day, Wally was there. Then a few minutes later, he was over there. A few minutes later, he was over there. A few minutes later, over there. And everybody was smiling because they felt his presence. I guess that's what they felt. But anyway, it made me realize that when somebody dies, they think of their bones and everything being put into the soil or being cremated or whatever like that, what happens to the thoughts in the brain? And what really impressed me was if everything else rots away and goes away, what happens to these thoughts? They're not physical. They're just something in our head. And maybe that person can come back to me. So when I thought about Wally being out there and seeing him there and there and there and there, right there where you're smiling, everything, you too. And I thought, that's what this is about. This person is to leave a legacy to us, and that's it. Think of his legacy and how it impacts you every day, how kind he was to people, how thoughtful, how wonderful he was to be Lee. And everybody who was around, I never saw him say a cross or angry word around everybody. And for less than 2 years, we saw a lot of him and really enjoyed every moment of it. And we're so happy with it because he was the joy of life. And we couldn't have had more and couldn't be left with more that would be adopted by our life and our future life, because we don't know who we impact after this. I'll give you an example. I taught for some 38 years, and I have students who are still connected with me via Facebook. And they write me and say, oh, we're coming to California. I'm going to take my kids to Descanso Gardens like we did. That was my favorite place. Or I just read one of Roald Dahl's books to my daughter, and I know she's going to be reading it to hers. And I'm thinking, none of us have the idea of the impact we leave on other people. I don't know if Bert did or not, but from listening to what all these people are saying, that is exactly what he wanted to give to us. A way of being happy and making other people happy and enjoy life. So that was Bert. So anyway, bye-bye.
On behalf of my family, I want to thank you all for being here today as we celebrate the life of my father. I say celebrate his life because I remember when my dad was turning 50, he said to me, I never thought I would ever make it to 50 because his own father had died so young, and he had made it to almost 90. So it is a true celebration. It's impossible to say everything I would like to say or tell all the stories that deserve to be told about Dad. So when I sat down to write this, I decided to share just a few items that capture even a small part of who my father was. The first morning after my father's recent accident, my mother and I went to the ICU at the hospital. When we walked in, Dad was awake and talking. He thanked us for coming. He knew exactly who we were. He kissed my mother. But some of the things that he was saying made us wonder where his mind was wandering or what he was really thinking. He told us that David had come to visit him. My mom and I looked at each other trying to figure out what David had come to visit already. Eventually we realized he thought he had already passed away and he was in heaven. And his nephew David, who lives in Chicago, had come to visit him just like he thought we had come to visit him. I tried to convince him that he was still alive and here with us, but then he took my hand and he looked at me and said, "It's okay, I'm fine, I'm ready." Those words have really stuck with me over the past week. Then, in true dad fashion, he turned to my mother and told her he was going to pick out her next husband and send him down from heaven. Not only that, he told her that she was going to get pregnant again. So we all had a laugh at that. Later in the morning, he asked about Michael, Mindy, Tracy, Manuel, and his grandchildren, who are really my nieces and nephews on Manuel's side, but who he fully claimed and loved as his own grandchildren. When the doctor came in, she asked him his name, his birth date, where he was, and those were all actually things he didn't remember at all. He replied when asked where he was. He looked at us and said, "We're at the Rosen's house," referring to our lifelong friends, Stan, Lynn, Beverly, and Michelle. My point in retelling this story is even when his mind couldn't find his own name or other information, he remembered the people that he loved, his children, his friends, his family. That was my father. Support and love was another big thing, or big part of my father. He always was there for us, each one of us. He never doubted it. We never doubted it. When I think about how much he supported me throughout my life, certain specific moments come to mind. When I was 17, I told him I wanted to go into business and accounting. He responded by making me the bookkeeper of his business. The pharmacist taught me how to do deposits, write checks, pay bills, deal with vendors, and handle payables. Looking back, I can't believe he trusted a 17-year-old kid with that responsibility. But he believed in me, and he wanted to give me a real-world education, which helped me tremendously throughout my life. When I was 24, I decided it was time to come out to my parents. I was terrified. So many of my friends had been rejected by their families and had horrible stories. But I didn't want my parents to find out from somebody else. So one night I invited myself over to their house for dinner and told them I had something important to say. I was there, we had dinner, but I couldn't say it. Finally, I blurted out, "I'm gay." My dad jumped up and said, "Is that it?" And he put his arms around me and hugged me and said, "You're my son, I will always love you no matter what." At 30, I told my parents I was quitting my job and I was going to start my own business. My mother was very worried. My father said, "Great, I'll be your first client." And he even prepaid his entire first year of fees when I opened the business. He told me, "Go for it, but remember, I will always be here if you need anything." Around that same time, I told my parents I wanted to start using my full name of Lawrence and not Larry. To this day, my mother calls me Larry. But from that day forward, my father always called me Lawrence. To me, a small thing, but a big show of support. When I was 41, I told them I was moving to Argentina. My mother, again, was very worried. My father simply said and asked, "What's your plan?" I told him. He said, "Well, it sounds exciting. Go for it. But remember, I'll always be here if you need my help." And at 49, when I told him that I was going to marry Manuel, my father said and looked at me, "It's the best decision of your life. You have my support." A few days after he passed, I was driving home and a song came on the radio. My good friend Ava had warned me that grief will come in waves. Well, it hit me at that moment and I had to pull over. I couldn't drive. The song was written by a man about his father, and every word felt like it was taken from my own experiences. The lyrics express far better than I think I could ever write. So to end here, I'm going to read some of the lyrics from the song. The song is "How Do I Say Goodbye" by Dean Lewis. Early morning, there's a message on my phone. It's my mother saying, "Darling, please come home. I fear the worst, but how could you leave us all behind? There's so much to say, but so little time. So how do I say goodbye? When I couldn't, you always saw the best in me. Right or wrong, you were always on my side. But I'm scared of what life without you is going to be like. And I saw the way Mom looked into your eyes, and I promise you if you go, I'll make sure she's all right. So how do I say goodbye? And there's no way you could ever let me down. Gonna steal some time and start again. You'll always be my closest friend. So how do I say goodbye to someone who's been with me my whole damn life? Who gave me my name, who gave me the color of your eyes, and I see your face when I look at mine. So how do I say goodbye? Well, I really don't know the answer to that, but I do know this. My brother and sisters and I will carry his love, his humor, his strength, and his unwavering support of us for the rest of our lives.
was very, very beautiful, both all of the tributes and the music and the beautiful memories with the pictures that Michael put together. They're going to read a special poem written by a contemporary rabbi who's in LA, Rabbi Naomi Levy, and she has a beautiful book called Talking to God. So this is called A Child's Blessing for a Parent. And spouse. Well, I wanted you to be with all the kids. I have a copy for everybody. Come on, stand together. Come, everybody come close.
Okay.
Come be together and you'll read it.
Okay.
They're not going to sing.
You're lucky. You gave me my life. You gave me your wisdom, your guidance, your concern, your love. You are my mentor, my protector, my moral compass, my comfort. There are no words to express my gratitude for all the blessings you have given me. Still I tell you, thank you. May God bless you as you have blessed me, as today I remember you.
And we're just going to do the concluding prayers. I'll do this in Hebrew first and then in English, so it's the bottom left on the handout. It's customary to stand for this prayer. It's good to stand anyway. We've been sitting a long time, so if you can, I invite you to please rise. I'll do it in Hebrew, and traditionally, if we have our Hebrew names, if you can't stand, it's okay. And his Hebrew, he had a nice Hebrew name, Benjamin Yitzchak. So I'll do it in Hebrew first, and then we'll all do the English together. El Malei Rachamim, Shochen Bamramim, Hamtze Menucha Nechona, Tachat Kanfei HaShechina, Im Kedoshim O Tehorim, Kezohar Kia Mazirim, Et Nishmat Benjamin Yitzchak Ben Morris Velilian, Shehalach Le'olamo. Ba'al harachamim yastirehu beseter kanafav lil yamim, ve'itzor b'itzor ha'chaim et nishmato, Adonai hu nachalato, v'yanuach b'shalom al mishkavo, v'nomar, Amen. And let's read the English together. It says, El Malei Rachamim, everybody. O compassionate God, eternal Spirit of the universe, grant complete rest beneath the sheltering wings of your divine presence, among the holy and pure, who shine as the brightness of the firmament, unto Burton Lichter, who has entered eternity. Author of mercy, bring him under the shelter of your wings, and let his soul be bound up in the bonds of eternal life. May he rest in peace. Amen. And we'll do one more prayer, the Kaddish prayer, and I just have a few closing things I wanted to share. So Kaddish means sanctification. That's how the prayer starts. I did one that has the traditional words, actually not Hebrew, it's Aramaic, but the traditional words interspersed with some English that kind of reflects the values of his life and the family's life. So I think this is a nice one to bring it all together. And when you read the Kaddish prayer, we use it as a mourner's prayer. It doesn't actually say anything about dying, it's how we live. And even in time of sadness, we try to reaffirm our values and what we stand for and what life stands for. So we can join together. You can do the Hebrew, the English, whatever you like. Yitkadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah. Help us, O Lord, to embrace the enduring. Ve'alma divra chiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh. V'chayechon uvyamechon uv'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael v'agala v'zman kari v'yimru. Amen. Teach us the value of time so that we don't squander our days. Yehei shmei rabba mevorach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudashah b'riachu. Protect us from ourselves as well as from others who seek to harm us. Give us the strength to fight off depression and cynicism by helping us affirm our belief in the ancient mysteries that have been our comfort and our strength, binding the generations one to another. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'ama v'imru. Amen. Inspire us with a sense of the sacred and protect us from a numbing dullness of the soul. Yehi shalom rabba min shemaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu yaseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. Remind us always to be nurturing to others, to feed the hungry, clothe the naked, heal the sick, and comfort the bereaved. May the God of peace grant peace to us all. V'imru. Amen. And everyone may be seated. Wait, don't play yet. I just want to conclude with two things. So when I thought, this is nice, there's a poem that I like. It was written by a young woman named Hannah Sanish, and it's called My Shining Star. And I thought this was especially appropriate since your last name is Lichter. Lichter is from Licht, which means light. It's the same word in Yiddish and in German. And so this is a nice poem in your honor. There are stars whose radiance is visible on earth, though they have long been extinct. And there are people whose brilliance continues to light the world, though they are no longer among us. These lights are particularly bright when the night is dark. They light the way for humankind. And so Bert brought kindness and love and light to our world. And one more of my concluding poem, which I like to share. And it ties in a little bit with what Wendy shared. And so I think this is nice. It's called You're My Guest in Thought. Once a day and sometimes more, you knock upon my daydream door and I say warmly, come right in. I'm glad you're here with me again. Then we sit down and have a chat, recalling this, discussing that, until some task that I must do forces me away from you. Reluctantly I say goodbye, smiling with a little sigh. For though my daydreams bring you near, I wish that you were really here. But what reality can't change, my dreams and wishes can arrange. And through my wishing, you'll be brought to me each day, a guest in thought. And in Hebrew, we say, Yehi zichrono livracha. And as we shared, may his life, may the memory of Bert always be a blessing and an inspiration. Amen. And on behalf of the family and everybody, we want to thank you for your love and your support and your kindness and for being here. They're going to play Oseh Shalom, and we invite you to come join us in the room right behind us in the social hall, and we'll do Kiddush and Hamotzi, and everybody can stay, schmooze, tell stories, and be together. So they'll play a little bit, and you're welcome to go into the other room in a moment. Beautiful. Yasher koach to both of you. we'll continue, we'll go into the social hall, we'll do the prayers, everybody can schmooze, there's restrooms out in the hallway. We'll reconvene in there and do the prayers.
Probando, probando.